Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. As you will have seen in the vlogs, I recently traveled through Costa Rica with my best friend on my Central America backpacking trip, and we spent about 2 weeks in the country. In this video, I'll be sharing all my recommendations, what you need to know before going, and also how you can save money as you are traveling. I hope these tips can help you if you plan to embark on a similar adventure. Let's start with the best time to go, which would be in the dry season. On the Pacific side, this is between December and April, and on the Caribbean side, that is between March and September. September and October are definitely the months with the most rainfall, but rainfall is common throughout the year because you will be going to cloud forest, which is a type of rainforest, and it is what creates this lush beauty that Costa Rica is known for. The humpback whale season starts in December and ends in the start of April, more or less, and then again from mid-July until November. So if we combine all of this information, we would come to the conclusion that March and April are the best months to visit Costa Rica. Getting into Costa Rica is relatively easy. Most people arrive at the international airport in San Jose, the capital of the country, but I came from Panama, so I crossed the land border, and this was an easy process. Upon arrival, you get a 90-day free tourist visa, which is the case for most nationalities, but definitely check if it also applies to your nationality. However, when I continued on to Nicaragua, I did have to pay an exit fee of $8, which you can do through this QR code. I forgot about it and it turned out being $10 at the border itself. Now that you know when to go, let's talk about where you will be going. Coming from Panama, I obviously started in Puerto Viejo. Puerto Viejo is a Caribbean coastal town that is very cozy, very small, and has a lot of Afro-Caribbean Rasta vibes, if you want to call it that. It was not only one of our favorite places, but also one of the most budget-friendly places to stay in Costa Rica, because the national park that is nearby, called Cahuita National Park, is free to visit, and we saw so much wildlife just walking around there without a guide. We saw so many sloths, a few snakes, raccoons, monkeys, and so much more. So I would highly recommend visiting Cahuita National Park. And another popular activity here is renting a bike and taking the bike to all the nearby beaches. They are so stunning. We had the luck of visiting them in Semana Santa, which is the week before Easter, and all of the Costa Ricans had flocked to these beaches. It was interesting to see, but obviously, usually they are a lot more off the beaten path or just a lot quieter and peaceful, and they were not at the time that we were there, but it was still interesting to see, and the beaches are beautiful, and the bike ride was also very enjoyable. So overall, the activities here are very budget friendly. Next up, we were stranded in San Jose. Also, due to the Easter holidays, there weren't as many buses as we had anticipated there would be, and it meant that we could not make it to the Pacific side of Costa Rica. I would say you don't need much time in San Jose. It is a place to just arrive or transfer on to the next place too, but I wouldn't recommend spending much time there sightseeing or anything. More on the Caribbean side, in the north, is Tortuguero National Park, and this is a popular wildlife spotting national park. Also, it is known for the turtles nesting. Definitely look into when the turtles will be nesting on the Caribbean side versus the Pacific side. They are not the same months or the same moments. We tried to see them in Puerto Viejo, but we spent 4 hours in the dark on the beach getting eaten alive by sand fleas, and we did not get to see them. This is a thing about wildlife spotting and nature. I can make most of my dreams come true, but when it comes to seeing certain animals, it is completely out of my control, and I'm not gonna lie, I was heartbroken, devastated, but I will just have to go back one day. Along the Pacific coast, where I did not make it, unfortunately, popular stops are Manuel Antonio National Park, which is where we would have been going. It is also a beautiful national park that is comparable to Cahuita National Park on the opposite side of the country, but the Pacific coast is a lot better known for surfing, and towns like Uvita, Santa Teresa, and many more will be a popular place for surfers, and thus there will be a lot more young people gathering along this coast. Corcovado National Park is one of the most biodiverse places in the entire world. It is located at the southernmost tip of the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, but you can only really visit it on a tour or just something that is an organized thing to see the wildlife and get there. It is not as accessible as the rest of the country. Now we've been in the south, we've done the east and the west coast. Now it's time for what was our next stop, the northern cloud forests. Monteverde and La Fortuna are definitely the two best known cities in all of Costa Rica when it comes to tourism. And only one of them deserves that fame. We preferred Santa Elena, which is next to Monteverde. Santa Elena is the picturesque town, or it's not very picturesque, but it's just small, cozy. It's up in the mountains, great views, great restaurants, and it is kind of the hub from where you can do all the best activities. You can visit Monteverde National Park, which is a separate thing. It is cloud forests, but we decided to do the El Tigre waterfalls, which I had not heard of before, but talking to our receptionists, they all recommended us to do this, and it did not disappoint. We saw so many waterfalls. It was on the expensive side. I believe we paid $70 for the El Tigre waterfalls, but it was definitely worth it. Another thing we did there was the night walking tour. Spotting wildlife during the night is arguably better than during the day because there are a lot of nocturnal animals that only come out at this time of day. We saw armadillos, glow-in-the-dark scorpions, a sloth, snakes, monkeys. It was terrifying, but also one of the highlights of our trip. We also went ziplining, which in my opinion was a bit overrated. I had kind of expected it more to be actually over a rainforest, which it wasn't. It was over a valley, and maybe it was because we had such amazing weather and it was dry and we didn't really have the clouds that it didn't feel like this ancient rainforest that we were flying over. I kind of missed that. I was really expecting it, and Costa Rica didn't really come through with that. I don't know, were we looking for it in the wrong place? I don't know. If you know, then let us know in the description below, but it wasn't really as we expected it to be. And we did the Tarzan swing, which was definitely the most terrifying thing I have done in my life. Aside from the snakes, because that actually did make me cry. But still, yeah, I'm glad I did it, but I don't think I will do it anytime soon again. All the stops I will be talking about, I have made separate videos about. So if you want an in-depth guide on all of these places and activities we've done, then just go and check them out separately. La Fortuna is a much bigger city with less charm. It is very commercial, touristy, and Americanized. It is close to Lake Arenal, which we saw very closely during the jeep transportation from Monteverde to La Fortuna. And we also saw the Arenal volcano in all its glory. We were so lucky to see it without any clouds at the top. We did not do any hikes because there were a lot of clouds obstructing the view. We did go and see the expensive $18 La Fortuna waterfall. It is like a scene from Jurassic Park, I can't lie. But after going, we found out that there are free waterfalls a bit further along. And all the locals really recommend this, but it was too late for us to still go and see them because we literally hadn't heard about them beforehand. Another thing that is free and that we did get to experience is El Salto. This is a natural kind of swimming pool or swimming hole with rope swings, etc. and some cliff jumping, and a lot of people just go there, hang out, see the people do some crazy jumps. The locals definitely have their jumps down, like they have been practicing. It was definitely a cool place to hang out, and we also saw a lot of the little red frogs. Finally, we also visited the free hot springs. We did this during the night because that is when the fireflies come out. People bring their own candles and put them up. People bring their own beers and they just hang out in these warm water pools. It is pretty cool. I definitely have not experienced anything like that anywhere else in the world. But La Fortuna in general, the activities and the city did not really impress us as much as Santa Elena did, or even Puerto Viejo. When it comes to transportation and getting from place A to place B, I already told you the Boat Jeep is a beautiful experience, but mostly we just took public transportation to get around, and these buses are actually well organized. I would recommend getting a ticket in advance at one of the local ticket offices, because that way you are certain of the departure time, because like I said, we got stranded and things didn't really go as planned. So I would definitely say check with the bus operators before letting your trip depend on them. The more popular option is definitely renting a car or simply going on a group trip. That way all the transportation is included. Because if you've had a look at where all of these places I've mentioned are on the map, they are super spread out. Costa Rica, compared to the other countries in Central America, is not a straight line that everything is located around. It is like a spider web. So it is not as easy to travel if you don't have a rental car. There are also lots of cool waterfalls and the crocodile bridge that you can just stop at to have a look if you don't have your own car and have the freedom to just stop wherever. I think a group tour would definitely be the more social and the better vibe option, in my opinion. I was lucky to be traveling with my best friend, but I usually backpack solo, and we've backpacked together as well. And we are used to a much better vibe and just a better atmosphere and like getting to meet many more people. But this time around, I felt like Costa Rica is more of a country that attracts families and couples that will just rent a car and explore the country that way. I didn't feel the backpacker vibe as much, but maybe that's because we also didn't go to the Pacific coast and maybe more of the young people just hang around there. We did stay in hostels and sometimes even private rooms because in general the accommodation was a lot more affordable than we expected it to be. Costa Rica is famously expensive compared to the other countries in Central America. A lot of people would even say that it costs as much as European countries. I wouldn't go as far as to say that because our accommodation was definitely affordable, transportation was as well, and we managed to save a lot of money. Also on food, etc. And I'm going to be talking about how you can make your trip in Costa Rica as affordable as possible. Let's start with what our trip cost us, and then let's have a look at how you can keep those costs lower. On transportation, we spent 3 times $20 to $30, which came down to $7 a day, which, let's agree, is not too bad. We were only there for very few days, so we only stayed in one place for quite a short period of time, which is why it might come across as a lot for the amount of days that we were there. But if you spend more days there, then the transportation costs are actually not that bad. For accommodation, we spent about $20 per person per night, either staying in hostels or sharing a private room. On activities, we spent a bit more. That was $27 per day. But like I said, the El Tigre waterfalls already cost us $70. The leatherback turtle nesting cost us $90. The night walking tour was $30. The zip line was $60. The La Fortuna waterfall was $18. And then also I included some drinks, some happy hour drinks into my activities because having a drink to me is more of an activity that I choose to do rather than a much needed expense in food. So if you're traveling to Costa Rica, this will probably be the biggest part of your expenses. On food, we only spent $13 per day eating a casado at the local sodas or going to the supermarket and preparing our own meal in the hostel kitchen, which every hostel has its own kitchen and you can easily just have your own breakfast and you can easily have a fresh meal, fresh fruit throughout your stay in Costa Rica. So that brings us to a total of $60 per day, which is definitely higher than what I usually spend on a backpacking trip. But like I said, the majority of this cost will be due to the activities. Overall, I would say we've done a pretty good job at budgeting our trip in Costa Rica. I spent about the same on average per day in Panama. So what can you do to save money? Like I said, you can prepare your own food in the kitchen Or you can go to a local soda, which is more of a local restaurant where they have a typical casado, which is like the local lunch option, which is usually the cheapest option food-wise at restaurants. It comes with meat, rice and beans, some plantains, sometimes a salad. It's kind of always a similar thing, but it is delicious and I love them. A casado costs about $5. We also loved the gallo pinto, which is a more typical breakfast meal, but you can have it as some kind of a brunch so that it fills you up for breakfast and lunch. And it is also rice, some chicken, and it is very nutritious and just a good way to start your day and save money at the same time. When it comes to alcohol, alcohol is a bit more expensive, and they say that you should either bring it from Nicaragua or Panama if you have been traveling before. But in general, if we really did want to drink, we just went for a happy hour and the price of those cocktails would actually be very reasonable. And of course, you can always go for the local beer. You could also travel during rainy season, which makes it definitely cheaper because there are less tourists traveling, which makes hotels, etc. cheaper. Usually there is a rainstorm for about 2 hours each day, and then the rest of the day it'll be good to travel around. But considering that I did not find our costs on accommodation, etc. that expensive at all, I would say why not go in the dry season. And last but not least, there are plenty of free activities. Even though activities will be the bulk of your costs, still there are plenty of free things to do around Costa Rica. It is famous for having to pay for every single waterfall and every single thing that you do, but that is definitely not the case. The beaches are still free to enjoy. Surfing is a very popular thing. If you have your own surfboard, then you're good to go. You can watch sunrises, sunsets, go stargazing on the beach at night. Just make sure you put some bug spray on. But as we were waiting for the turtle nesting, we really did enjoy just listening to the crashing waves with nothing but the light of the full moon. It was pretty special. It would have been even better if we had seen the turtles nesting, but still, it is a magical experience. You could also buy a snorkel. I would say that the Caribbean coast would be a better place to go snorkeling. There are also some snorkeling tours, but you could save some money by simply doing it yourself. I personally brought mine from home. I knew I would be along that Caribbean coast and on islands a lot of the time, so I just brought my own snorkel and mask. Like I said, in La Fortuna, there are still free hot springs and free waterfalls that you can go and explore. So maybe you want to opt for those instead of the paid ones. And they are a lot less frequented than the paid ones because the paid ones just get promoted a lot more. We did go on some wildlife tours, but in general, you don't have to take a tour to see wildlife. It is literally all around. Like I said, Cahuita National Park is free. You can buy entrance into the other national parks and you can visit them yourself without a guide. You can decide to also pay for a guide, but you do not have to. Try not to book too many tours ahead of time because sometimes the hostels or hotels will have special deals or special offers on these tours. And definitely ask the people at your hostel or hotel, the people working there, what their favorite activities are. This gave us the best experiences in Costa Rica because not always the best activities are the best known. We really found this out the hard way because we had to miss the free waterfalls in La Fortuna, and probably we wouldn't have done the El Tigre waterfalls because we simply did not know of it. I want to end this video with some very important things you need to know. When it comes to a SIM card in Costa Rica, we first bought one of Colibri, but it did not work. You need a national ID number for that one. So then we had to go and buy another SIM card, which was a waste of money. We went with Liberty because that's what the shop we were at was selling, but I do believe Claro works as well. Claro is one of the most popular telephone or SIM card brands in all of Central America. When it comes to the mosquitoes, it was not as bad as I expected it to be. I actually ordered like a mosquito net to put around me for sleeping, but I sent it back and I didn't end up taking it on this trip because it was weighing a lot and it was quite expensive, and I thought, you know what, I'll just get good mosquito spray and I'll just hope for the best, and it did work. I didn't actually need the mosquito net, and in places that you really do need it, I think the accommodation will simply provide it. Also, definitely bring Factor 50 sunscreen. I'm going to keep saying this, but I brought my SPF 31 and it did not cut it. So get yourself some good SPF 50. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Then definitely give it a like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my next videos. The next one will be all my recommendations for backpacking Central America. The entire thing, everything you need to know before doing it. And as you are seeing this video, I am in Southeast Asia again, backpacking around there, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!